Susan's calm was starting to waver. Minutes went by, but the room felt stuck in time. She fidgeted with her clipboard, her movements stiff and overly deliberate, betraying her discomfort. Daryl, on the other hand, leaned casually against one of the luxury SUVs, his relaxed demeanor only intensifying the tension in the air. A few employees loitered around the showroom, whispering quietly, casting curious glances at the scene unfolding before them. It was clear that everyone was waiting for something or someone. The sudden sound of the main doors opening broke the silence. A man in a sharp navy suit walked in, his polished shoes making soft clicks against the tile floor. His expression was serious yet warm as his eyes immediately found Daryl. "Mr. Carter," the man said with a wide smile, extending his hand. "Good to see you." Daryl returned the handshake with a firm grip, a small smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. "Thanks for coming, Alex." "I appreciate it." The room collectively tensed. Susan almost dropped her clipboard, her eyes darting between Daryl and Alex, the regional director of the dealership. Confusion quickly shifted to visible alarm. "Wait, Mr. Carter," she echoed, her voice uncertain. Alex turned to her, his friendly demeanor shifting into something more formal, almost curt. "Susan, I see you've already met Mr. Carter," he said. Susan blinked, her mouth opening and closing as though searching for the right words. I didn't realize..." "You didn't realize he's the new owner of this dealership," Alex finished sharply, casting an apologetic look at Daryl. "I trust this wasn't the welcome you were expecting." Daryl raised a hand, signaling Alex to stop. "It's fine, Alex. I think Susan and I just got off on the wrong foot," he said, his voice calm, but carrying an undeniable weight that held the room's attention. Susan paled and took a step back, clutching her clipboard like a shield. I'm sorry," she stammered, her voice barely audible. "I didn't know." Daryl's expression softened, though his tone remained firm. "You didn't know what? That someone like me could own a place like this? Or that I might actually belong here?" Her eyes widened, and for a moment, she looked utterly lost. "I didn't mean..." Daryl raised a hand, cutting her off gently. "It's okay, Susan, but let me ask you something. If I weren't the owner, would you have treated me any differently? Would you have shown me the same respect as someone wearing a suit and tie?" Susan opened her mouth to respond, but found herself speechless. The silence that followed was deafening. Daryl nodded, as though her silence was answer enough. Turning to Alex, he said, "Let's get everyone together in the conference room. I think it's time we had a conversation about how things are done here." The employees slowly gathered in the sleek conference room, tension thick in the air. The modern design of glass walls and polished furnishings felt suffocating today. Susan sat in the back, her usual confidence replaced by nervous stillness. Daryl stood at the head of the table, calm and composed, commanding the attention of everyone in the room. Alex stood near the door, arms crossed, his expression unreadable as he observed. As the murmurs died down, Daryl cleared his throat and began, his voice steady but firm. "Thank you for coming on such short notice. For those who don't know, I'm Daryl Carter, and as of last month, I'm the new owner of Prestige Motors." A few employees murmured in surprise, their reactions ranging from curiosity to embarrassment. Susan shrunk lower in her chair, avoiding everyone's gaze. "I came here today dressed casually for a reason," Daryl continued. "I wanted to see how this dealership runs when no one knows who I am. I wanted to experience what a regular customer might feel when they walk through these doors." He paused, letting the words sink in. "What I saw today was disappointing. I was judged not for what I could offer, but for how I looked. And I'm not here to call out anyone in particular, but we need to address what that says about the culture here." Susan squirmed in her seat, her face flushed with embarrassment. "This isn't just about me," Daryl said. "It's about every person who walks through these doors, every customer who doesn't fit into someone's idea of what a luxury car buyer looks like." A younger sales associate hesitantly raised his hand. "Mr. Carter, I think most of us try to treat customers fairly, but sometimes it's hard not to make assumptions. Daryl nodded thoughtfully. I understand. We all have biases, whether we like to admit it or not. But trying to be fair isn't enough. We have to actively challenge those biases. We need to create an environment where everyone feels respected, regardless of how they look or where they come from. He paused before continuing. This dealership has built a reputation for excellence, but excellence isn't just about the cars we sell. It's about the experience we provide. Moving forward, that experience is going to be rooted in respect, inclusivity, and fairness. The room rippled with agreement, though a few faces remained unsure. Daryl's gaze landed briefly on Susan before he turned back to the group. Susan, he said gently but firmly, I want to give you the chance to speak. Is there anything you'd like to say? All eyes turned to her. She hesitated, her voice barely a whisper. I made a mistake, she admitted, her cheeks red. I misjudged you, and for that, I'm sorry. Daryl nodded, his face unreadable. Thank you for saying that. This experience is a reminder for all of us, not just for you. Change starts with accountability. Looking at the group, he added, moving forward, we'll be introducing new training programs to ensure this dealership represents the values I believe in. Every customer deserves respect, no exceptions. If anyone disagrees, now's the time to speak. The room fell silent, the weight of Daryl's words lingering. He allowed the silence to stretch before speaking again, his voice firm but calm. I didn't come here today to embarrass anyone. I came to understand what kind of culture I'm inheriting and how we can improve it. His eyes drifted to Susan. Susan, you're an experienced manager, and I know you've worked hard to get here. But today was a wake-up call. For you and for all of us. Susan finally met his gaze. I understand, she said quietly. I was wrong, and I'll do whatever it takes to fix this. Daryl nodded once. I believe in second chances. But accountability comes first. We'll meet one-on-one to discuss the next steps. For now, let's focus on moving forward. Turning to the rest of the team, Daryl said, we're not just selling cars here. We're building trust, creating relationships, and upholding a standard of excellence. If you're with me, I'm here to support you every step of the way. The employees murmured in agreement, more genuine this time, as the initial tension began to dissipate. Even Alex, who had been standing by the door, nodded approvingly. Daryl smiled slightly, a mix of relief and determination. All right, let's get back to work. And remember, how we treat people matters more than anything we sell. As the staff filed out, Susan lingered by the door. She approached Daryl hesitantly, her hands nervously twisting. Mr. Carter, she said quietly, I want to thank you for giving me a chance to make things right. I won't let you down. Daryl looked at her for a moment before responding, his voice steady. I hope you mean that. Actions speak louder than words, but I believe people can change if they want to. Susan nodded earnestly. I do. After she left, Daryl turned to Alex. Let's set up a meeting with the staff next week. I want to make sure everyone knows what's expected from now on. Alex grinned, clearly impressed. You got it, boss. As Daryl stepped back into the showroom, he looked around at the cars, their surfaces gleaming in the afternoon light. He knew there was a lot of work ahead, but for the first time that day, he felt optimistic. This wasn't just about running a dealership. It was about building something bigger, a place where people were judged by their character, not their appearance. And Daryl was ready to lead the way.